I am a Liverpudlian, and I come from the Spion Cup. I love to sing, I love to shout, I get thrown out quite a lot. We support the team that's dressed in red. It's the team that you all know. It's a team that we call Liverpool, and to glory we will go. We've won the league.
Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Plastic Scousers podcast. My name's Matt Simpson, and this is my co-host, a man who's recently started brewing Belgian wheat beers in his basement. It's Owen Collins.
Yes, thank you very much, Matt. And I have indeed started my own range of Belgian wheat beer. It's they're all named after famous Belgian footballers. So I've got the Divockurigi Double, which is it's a dark beer, very hoppy. There's the Simon Mignolet Sour, which is it's got some different hops in it. Again, quite hoppy, but different hops. So a bit more sour, that one. Slight hints of cherry. And then there's the Christian Benteke Blonde, which is, I think, my personal favourite because it's really good with sort of cheese and hard bread. You have to come around and try sometime, Matt.
I would absolutely love to.
Yeah. The problem is I'm running out of Belgian footballers to name them after, so we need to start signing some more Belgians.
But Liverpool-based Belgians, you mean?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. None of Southermuck. So,
no, good point. Well made.
Who was the first Belgian to play for us, actually?
That's a good question. That's surely something you would know.
Yeah, it normally is. I feel there have been others, but as I say, I'm only quite early on into the brewing process. The thing is, you've got to give them time to ferment. That's very important.
What, so, the players or the beers?
Well, both. So I'm actually brewing one at the moment, which is going to be another blonde beer, but using different kind of hop, a different kind of malt from the sort of Flanders region. So it's but it takes about 6 months to really filter through. So I don't have a name for that one yet. So I'm just praying we sign a fourth Belgian.
I was going to say, unfortunately, yeah, you have only got 3 beers in your range because only 3 Belgians have ever played for us. Simon Mignolet being the first. So.
Although I've got a lovely Nicky Rizzo style lager coming up on the back burner as well.
Oh.
Yeah, I'm thinking of branching out into lagers.
Good. I'd love to try one of those as well.
Yeah, a Brad Jones top. That's what you want. Perfect on a summer's day. Brad Jones top.
Right. Okay. I'll let you worry about that one.
Okey-doke. Where were we?
Podcast.
October. In the October edition of this, our 2018-19 season review, we will be taking a good deep dive into the 5 fixtures played throughout the month, discussing all the games, goals, and talking points as the season hits its stride. And as usual, you can expect the usual insight and irreverence that we provide, as well as a discussion of a tumultuous international break for our squad.
As well as that, we play a spooky round of Name First, Feature Second, as it is the Halloween month of October, even though we're recording this in mid-November. And we take a look back to some of LFC's scariest moments, sure to give you a fright many, many days after Halloween.
But, what can you do?
Record early, that's what you can do.
Yeah, I suppose. First, let's mix things up and start with the football and what is probably the worst game of the month and the season and possibly all of recorded history. It was away to Napoli in the Champions League.
Yes, certainly. At this point, the worst performance that we'd had. It made a very big change from the last time we'd met Napoli. Admittedly, in a slightly less important game, being a pre-season friendly earlier in the year. But yeah, in that game we hammered them 5-0, and it all looked very straightforward. But this wasn't that. This was a very different affair.
Yeah, I was very disappointed because I was led to believe that what happened in the friendly would just happen again exactly in real time. But I think I know why it didn't, which was lack of the doubling crowd.
Yes, of course.
Yeah, that doubling crowd really made the difference back in August. It was a dismal performance. It was our second ever game at the Stadio San Paolo in Naples. it's a ground we'd never previously won at, and I think I can say, without giving too much away here, we still haven't.
No, as you say, the crowd was very much a Napoli side, of course, one of the most rabid and passionate fans in world football. And I mean, this was, a second defeat of the season, which was richly deserved. Let's be frank. Napoli were by far the better team throughout. We looked leggy and out of ideas, really.
Yeah, we looked absolutely bereft. I was in Prague for this game, and I was following it on the BBC live text, as you do, and it was some of the worst sentences I've ever read, ever since I gave Morrissey's first novel a go, List of the Lost, which is a magical realist romp through a sort of rip-off of Final Destination, but applied to a 1970s college athletics team who for some reason all talk exactly like Morrissey does. Mm-hmm. That's not relevant at all, not really. At all. But it's almost like, I think subconsciously I'm trying to talk about anything other than the football.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, there's not a huge amount we can really talk about from our end. I mean, it was the first, it was pretty much the first 11 you'd expect. Alisson, Van Dijk, Gomez, Robertson, and Trent Alexander-Arnold at the back. Gini, Jimmy Milner and Naby Keita in the midfield, and the 9, 10, 11 up front. So it was all pretty much as you'd expect. Of course, that changed quite early on as we saw what didn't look like a great injury to Naby Keita, who had to leave before 20 minutes was up.
I mean, he'd not been our best player of the season up to that point. Probably, would struggle to make the top 5, but it was sort of getting to that point where you'd expected him to be hitting his stride. Do you know what I mean? If that sort of bedding in period had passed, and we really got the sense we were about to see the best of him, and a really unfortunate time for him to get an injury, both in terms of his Liverpool career and in terms of the game, because it really sort of took the wind out of us. Not that there was an awful lot in to begin with, but we kind of really got off on an even worse foot, didn't we, after he went off?
Well, Jordan Henderson came on, and it kind of meant that the midfield 3 was one from last year, James Milner, Wijnaldum and Henderson, and there's not a lot of drive from that midfield. You do wonder in this kind of game whether a player like Naby Keita, who can pick the ball up, drive forward at the defence, open up space, for the other players around him, a bit like Oxlade-Chamberlain was doing in his prime last year, whether that might have helped a bit more, particularly in a game you're struggling in, to have a player like that can help.
Yeah, absolutely. It's it kind of gave us an already an already sort of struggling side. I think it's fair to say after 20 minutes a bit more to struggle with. Like you say, we lost that midfield drive, and we just never really got it back after that, did we?
No, I mean, let's be honest, getting to half time at 0-0, we certainly felt better, and I mean, certainly when the performance we made. I mean, Napoli created a couple of chances, but not too many. I mean, they certainly missed the couple that they've had. I know Milik had a decent chance that he headed wide, but I mean, at half time you kind of thought, well, 0-0, we're not playing great, but we can't be much worse in the second half. Hopefully we'll kick on a bit, and okay, Napoli might come at us as well, but we could surely create 1 or 2 chances. That didn't really happen.
Yeah, it's just you would expect to go in and have a bit of a rousing team talk, come out again second half, a bit more fired up. It's just more of the same. It was just turgid performance, really, wasn't it? It was surprisingly bad.
Yeah, if anything, Napoli got better, and we did the opposite. And I mean, quite honestly, we almost saw, we were very, very close to seeing the whole game out. With a 0-0, unless you're frank, getting away with one a bit. I mean, a draw away from home in the Champions League is a fairly decent result, and we almost looked like we were going to get it.
Yeah, I think you'd call it a disappointing performance and a disappointing result simply because we played so badly and so much worse than you'd expect us to. But you would have taken the draw, really, given that we were, like I say, under the cosh a bit in the second half. We were getting worse, they were getting better. There was definitely one side that was going to win that if it was, if it was any, obviously in hindsight would have taken the draw, but it was not to be.
No, I mean, a few minutes before the end of the game, I think they hit the bar. I can't remember who it was who hit the bar. I think Dries Mertens or someone. Someone had hit the bar, like, broken through on goal. A few minutes before, eventually, it was Lorenzo Insigne, I think it is.
Yeah, I think so.
Who put in the winner on a stroke of 90 minutes, and basically meant that we deserved nothing and got nothing.
Yeah, absolutely. As a yeah, like you say, we came out of that game with exactly what we deserved. You couldn't even say it was an unfair kind of turn of events on us. I mean, we couldn't say it was harsh to concede him last minute, because it was ultimately a game we didn't deserve to get anything from.
Yeah. The only genuine little spark, I know it's not much to say about it, is that we'd hardly seen Fabinho all season, but we saw another 15 minutes of him here.
Yeah, I mean, that was probably the only upside. I think it was it Naby Keita's first European game? I think he didn't play against PSG.
Yeah, in and out the side. Again, as you talked about, not having a great start. Injuries have really curtailed his start, really.
Yeah, so he's his first European appearance for the Reds. Same with Fabinho, actually, I think. But we're clutching at straws here, aren't we? For something positive to say.
It was crap. It was just crap.
Yeah, it was crap. It wasn't even Fabinho's first, was it? He came on against PSG.
Yeah, he only for 2 minutes in that game, though, whereas he got a good 20-minute run out here.
Yeah, but interestingly, there are a couple of players in the Napoli side who've already played Liverpool here with other teams, and as far as I can work out, none of them have ever lost to Liverpool. So that's David Ospina in the goal, obviously former Arsenal player, who was between the posts when they beat us 4-1 that day, back in the sort of twilight of the Brendan Rodgers era, and Dries Mertens, who you mentioned earlier, who came up against us in the Europa League group stage in the golden era that was Roy Hodgson's Liverpool, while playing for Utrecht,
That's
in what was a pair of 0-0 draws.
Good God.
And I think really we consider losing 1-0 to Napoli in an absolutely poor performance a bad result, which it is, but we've come a long way since drawing 0-0 at home to Utrecht, with Roy Hodgson as our manager. And just for context, in that game, our starting lineup contained such luminary, such visionary heroes and legends of the Liverpool canon, such as Christian Poulsen, Danny Wilson, Milan Jovanovic, and 9/11 denying Nathan Eccleston.
Wow. Incredible.
Martin Hansen was on the bench. I'd forgotten he even existed.
Well, I mean that's
Sorry?
that's incredible. Either way, we come away from Napoli with nothing, and we get to our next fixture, and what we sort of consider to be the end of a very tough run, because of course the 2 games prior to this were both in the league and in the cup against Chelsea, and then we go to Napoli, and then finally we're at home to arguably the best team in the world right now in Manchester City.
How confident were we going into this? I don't think we were that confident, were we?
I think we'd had a bad run of results that had knocked our confidence. I think Man City had started, as Man City always do, they just seem almost unstoppable. But the fact that we know how bad a record they've had at Anfield, and how much Klopp is Guardiola's kryptonite, I think what we expected was goals, and not what we got.
No, not at all. We got the complete opposite. I'm not sure what the opposite of the goal is. A laug, or a layog, or maybe just lots of goal kicks, and the ball moving away from the goal line. Yeah, I mean, obviously last year, they put 5 past us, then we put 4 past them, then we put 3 past them, then there was a nice little 2-1 as a sort of, as a sort of sweet. And this was the complete opposite. This was a 0-0 that, to be honest, didn't look at many points like it could ever be anything but a 0-0.
No, I mean, it's a real compliment to us that Man City turned up and basically parked the bus. Like, I wouldn't, not quite that bad, but
Yeah,
they came to organise and defend. They didn't come here to try and smash 4 against us.
Yeah, it wasn't as negative, to say park for bus. It wasn't like a Mourinho team, which of course is the most negative thing any of us can imagine. But yeah, it was a sort of respectful but very defensive sort of lineup, which yeah, I mean, it's great to be respected by, probably the best team in the country, but it would be nicer to beat them and not have them respect us.
Yeah, it's it ultimately, I think in the end it was a 0-0 draw. So there's not a huge amount to discuss. I mean, we probably looked the more likely at times, but so did they. In the end, I think cancelling each other out was a term I'd heard that I think was fairly apt. Definitely. Yeah, the only thing of note, certainly in the first half, that I can note here is the fact that sadly James Milner got a hamstring injury, and funnily enough, Obi Keita, who we thought would be out for a while, came on again.
After half an hour, that was. Again, really bad time to get an injury. It was, we saw Keita go off on 20 minutes, Milner go off in half an hour next game, so Keita missed almost exactly 1 game in 9 minutes. Which is not bad considering how worrying we thought it was. It didn't do an awful lot for our performance, really. We were still kind of drawing a bit of a blank. But, yeah. It wasn't really until the last 10 minutes where things got quite spicy.
Well, yeah, I mean, it was a bizarre kind of few minutes because... I mean, if I'm being honest, I can't remember how this was given, but Man City won a penalty with about 5 minutes to go.
Yeah, I can't actually remember why it was given either.
Let me just double check. I'm just going to watch it now. One sec.
I'd forgotten it was given until I read the script.
Oh, okay. So, with about 5 minutes to go, Man City awarded a penalty after Van Dijk makes a tackle on Leroy Sané. He gets a bit of the ball, but Sané goes down very easily. And also, by the way, Sané is basically on the byline about to run the ball out of play, so it doesn't matter anyway. But the ref decides to give it. And then up steps Riyad Mahrez.
To be honest, he was probably just bored.
Yeah, maybe, yeah. I mean, Man City had been threatening in the last sort of 10-15 minutes of this game. Alisson had to make a couple of good saves. Yeah, it seemed a bit pathetic, but a penalty was given, and up steps Riyad Mahrez, who famously is a terrible penalty taker.
Yeah, and they've got some great penalty takers on their team. Obviously, Aguero had gone off after about an hour. Still hasn't scored at Anfield, but yeah, why they chose Mahrez, I'm not sure. When they had like David Silva on the pitch and Sane on the pitch and
Jesus,
Silva. Basically,
quite frankly, Edison has been decent.
Kyle Walker's half decent at penalties, isn't he? So Mahrez took it, and God, weren't we glad he did?
Yeah, basically ended up in the Mersey. It was such a high, it skied it so much.
Yeah, Alisson, who's not had much to do all season, even when he's like literally 1-on-1 from a penalty spot, doesn't have a lot to do. Just nowhere near him. Or indeed the goal he was stood in at the time. So a let off for us.
Yes.
But also kind of justice done because it was a very soft penalty to begin with. So
yeah, and it feels fair, like for it to be 0-0 on the balance of play at the end of the game.
Yeah. The only thing that worries me is I can't see us going to the Emirates and getting a win.
No, I mean Sorry, why? What do you mean?
Well, what I mean is, I think to expect us to beat the best teams in the country twice in a season is very optimistic. I think, out of those 6 points against, say, Spurs, Chelsea, Man City, let's say those three, 6 points each club. I wouldn't necessarily expect 6 from 6 for all three of them.
Mm-hmm.
You'd kind of expect maybe 4 out of 6.
Yeah.
If you want to win the title. 2 out of 6. obviously it's the same for them as well, but I just think, that advantage over Man City, if we're gonna beat them to the title at the moment, I think it's gonna be a hell of a job to do that. But we're going to need to find an advantage from somewhere, and at the moment, I can't see that advantage coming from anywhere other than the direct head-to-head games. And we missed our chance to get an advantage with this game, and I can't see at what point another team will beat Man City when we'll beat that team. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I think what's confused me is you said the Emirates.
Yes, I can see why that's confused you. I can see.
What has Arsenal got to do with it?
Yeah, I can see where the confusion has arisen. The Etihad, sorry.
There you go.
His headphones are feeding weird signals into my brain.
Right. Well, either way. We end up 0-0 at home to Manchester City. Yeah, so we come to the end of that run of very tough games into an international break, which we don't usually mention on this podcast just because it's usually a bit of a non-plus event, but actually didn't work out very well for Liverpool, did it?
No, it was riddled with injuries. We saw Salah pick up a bit of a knock when he was away with Egypt. Mane picked up a bit of a knock when he was away with Senegal.
Didn't he break his thumb?
Who else?
He broke his thumb, I think.
He broke his thumb, yeah. Which, you wouldn't have thought would impact massively on his goal-scoring prowess, but then these are things I don't really understand, hence why I'm not a Premier League striker or a Senegalese international. And sort of hilariously and also pitifully, we saw Naby Keita get injured while he was away with Guinea, and had to be given a piggyback off the pitch by one of his teammates.
Oh, that's amazing.
Which is just ludicrous, and it would be quite funny if it wasn't actually like professional sportsmen we're talking about, who have got to go and play for clubs who are, it's not like a Sunday League side, is it? I think there were a couple of others, were there, in that international break got injured?
Yeah, I felt like there was, but I can't remember who it was.
I think that Van Dijk pick up a knock?
I think
because he was still struggling a bit with his ribs from the Southampton game.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think he played one game and then sat out the other.
Yeah, we actually, in a way, got lucky, because for what seems like the first time in years, all the international managers sort of had a bit of common sense and respect for club football and said, actually, he's got a bit of a knock. I've got a friendly on Tuesday, but I won't play him. He can go back to Melwood. It happened with Salah, it happened with Van Dijk, happened a couple of times, and it seemed like actually there was a sort of outbreak of common sense in this international break, which was maybe too little too late, but it was I don't think we should turn our noses up at it.
No.
Did anything else interesting happen this international break?
Yes, the one more thing I'd like to mention is I'd like to give a quick shout out, and I don't usually do this to other players for other teams in the league, but I'd like to give a quick shout out to Eric Dyer, who, when England were playing a friendly against Spain, slammed a tackle completely unnecessarily into Sergio Ramos after about 4 minutes of the game. No need to do it. It was in the box, no threat to anyone. Just cleaned him out properly. Brilliant tackle, totally. And you know what? Thank you and fair play to you, son.
Yeah, well, yeah, good mention. I'd forgotten that, and that well deserves a mention. Good lad, Eric. Next time, break his arm.
Yeah. We don't endorse violence in any way. However, it was beautifully funny.
We don't endorse violence in any way, but if it's done to Sergio Ramos, it's not violence, it is vengeance, and that is an entirely different kettle of fish, which I, for one, welcome.
Exactly. So, yeah, fair play to you, son. And we come out of the international break, and we seem to have a slightly more gentler fixture than we've had of recent, in that we are against Huddersfield Town.
Huddersfield, famed for its tramways, up north where it's boring and slow. Stanley Bagshaw lives with his grandmother at 64 Prince Albert Row.
Like, imagine that but in a Yorkshire accent and you get the idea.
Hey. Alright, Alan Green.
No, I don't know what you're talking about.
No. Yes, so Huddersfield. All the talk pre-match was about, as you might expect, the friendship between Jurgen Klopp and David Wagner. David Wagner, as I heard him referred to recently. Obviously, they're very good friends. There's been certain kind of intermingling between our two clubs since we got Klopp. Obviously, we played pre-season friendlies there before they were promoted. Danny Ward went out on loan there the season they got promoted. Proved what a fantastic goalkeeper he is, and then we didn't use him because we're idiots. So that really kind of dominated most of the headlines beforehand. I guess there wasn't an awful lot else to talk about. In terms of the team selection, there are a few changes. Of note, Adam Lallana comes into the side. Daniel Sturridge starting. For both of them, that was... it was the first Premier League start in 10 months for Adam Lallana, which is baffling. And somehow it was the first Premier League start in 11 months for Daniel Sturridge, which makes me feel quite old. just how quickly time is going. Doesn't feel like a year since Daniel Sturridge was starting in the Premier League.
No. But a couple of other things to make a note of. Dejan Lovren was in the side. Joe Gomez moved to right back, and Dejan came in for his first start of the season. And also Xherdan Shaqiri was in as well. Who of course had really impressed you personally when you were watching him at Anfield against Southampton. Although I would just like to say that it was a slightly unusual. Whilst you look at it, and personally as a tactics man, you can see that Dejan Lovren plays centre back, Joe Gomez goes to right back, fine. Midfield three, you'd expect to be Milner, Henderson, Lallana, because Lallana probably most effective in that kind of midfield role with Shaqiri and Salah either side of Sturridge. But no, that's not how we lined up. In fact, Lallana played wide right and Shaqiri played in the centre in a more number 10 role, which I found not baffling, not for Shaqiri's sake, but Adam Lallana has never been effective wide right. And the effectiveness of the team today kind of suggested it. Yeah,
it was a fairly muted performance again, wasn't it?
This is against the Huddersfield Town side, who were really languishing and in the bottom three, and quite you'd expect us on another day to turn up and stuff them.
Yeah, a bit like we did to West Ham at the beginning of the season. You'd expect that to be kind of a much more difficult game than this one. And you think if we could put 4 past Pellegrini's West Ham, we could put, maybe 6 past Huddersfield. But like you say, the changes to the lineup kind of took a bit of a sting out the attack. It took the fluidity out of it. Just to emphasise the kind of the sort of problems we had in attack, we should mention that Divock Origi was on the substitutes bench.
Yeah, a player I had genuinely forgotten was still with us.
Yeah, it's a shame. I like Divock Origi. I bear him no ill will, but he's looking more and more out of place in this Liverpool squad. Do you know what I mean? He's looking at sort of a bit of a ghost at the feast.
I was just so surprised when he was on the sheet. I was like, oh yeah, he's still with us, isn't he? I just thought he'd gone or gone on loan, or I just completely forgotten.
He's the new Stephen Colker.
Oh, God.
Again, what seems to be a running theme for October, there doesn't seem to be an awful lot to say.
No, the performances have been fairly underwhelming, haven't they?
They have, and not just like... there's underwhelming performances in quite dull games, which just, it makes it quite difficult to analyse or to talk about in too much detail, because there really isn't much to say. There's no, contentious decisions really, or near misses, or even beautiful spectacle of gorgeous link-up play that's easy on the eye. It's all just a bit flat and
well, there's a couple of things that we can mention. Firstly is actually whilst we looked like we could go forward and try and score and we could create some chances, also we looked a bit exposed at the back, and Huddersfield did threaten several occasions. It wasn't just a one-way traffic thing. So
Absolutely.
It wasn't fair play to Huddersfield, and actually we didn't look entirely perfect in those positions. However, there was one moment of quality that basically won the game. After some great work in the middle through Shaqiri, plays Salah through, who finishes it very accurately for the first and indeed only goal of the game.
Yeah, it was a great sort of build-up play from Gomez, and a lovely little assist from Shaqiri. It was kind of vintage Salah in where he just sort of tucked it into far corner. Not a difficult goal to score, really. Not, a great goal in terms of his own standards that he set himself, but a very comfortable little goal. Can't think of a synonym for goal. Strike, a very comfortable little strike.
There you go.
And English degree, and
creative writing degree, actually.
Yeah, creative writing, even worse. It was. That's probably the last thing to say about that game.
Yeah, there's a few more things we should mention, to be fair.
Going into 1-0 half time, I mean, the second half was pretty much a non-event. Huddersfield did try and threaten. We were fairly organised at the back. Jordan Henderson picked up a knock, though, came off at half time, and I don't think we'd see him again for the rest of the month.
Another player, like a lot of our midfield seem to have been really, like, if you think Milner, Keita, Henderson, obviously Lallana, a lot of kind of injury niggles so far this season, a lot of ins and outs. I think that's kind of why our form has been a bit sluggish. Well, actually, our form's been good, but our performance has been sluggish because we've had no consistency in the midfield.
Yeah.
We've, since that first few games when we didn't rotate at all, up to about, what was it, the Leicester game?
Yeah, basically
After the first international break, wasn't it?
Yeah, and since then we've almost changed the midfield basically every game. Or it's felt like it, or definitely mid-game earlier than we should have done. And it's just really taken a bit of a consistency and the flow out of our midfield. And if you look at the problems we have this season, they are, for once, it's not the defence. I wouldn't say the problems is in the attack. They're not anywhere near as good as they were last season, but they're still scoring every now and then. It's the midfield. It's that kind of centre portion that kind of links a devastating attack to a rock solid defence, and that's where we're kind of lacking the creativity and the comfort at the moment, and I think that's what's holding us back.
And when you think that we signed 3 midfielders of the summer in Keita, Fabinho, who saw another 20 minutes of action here, and also Shaqiri, like those 3 haven't played together all season.
Yeah, you kind of think, we need a new midfielder, and then you think, hang on, we've just bought 3 new midfielders. And in the case of Shaqiri, excellent signing. Fabinho is starting to get the minutes, starting to look like he might soon be bedding himself into the team. Keita, I think we've not seen anywhere near the best of yet.
No, he can't get stay fit at the moment, can he?
No, it's a shame. So I don't think it would right. I don't need to write him off yet. But I think if you had to pinpoint where we've struggled, it would definitely be in the centre of the park.
Yeah, I said like the loss of someone like the loss of Oxlade-Chamberlain, I still think is a big problem, and I think the loss of form, fitness, and quality of Lallana also hasn't helped.
Obviously, Wijnaldum stepped up. Milner has gone slightly off the boil since the start of the season. Started the season brilliantly. Picked up that knock against Man City. Has been a bit kind of less impressive since, should we say. Still one of my favourite players, but not been quite as imperious as he was at the beginning of the season. It will come. I think it's just, we've had a really tough run of games. Do you know what I mean? And this Huddersfield game, I know it's, the start of the easy run, but it's kind of, it's still like, trying to stand up for the first time after you've been laid down with someone jumping on your legs for 3 weeks.
Yeah.
I don't know where that metaphor came from, but there we go.
So we take a hard fought and slightly dull 1-0 win away, but at least it's our first win in October and 3 points on the board.
Hopes a winless run that was starting to look a bit worrying statistically.
And we enter the Champions League again, hoping to make amends for the first game of this month against Red Star Belgrade at home.
Yes, hoping to make amends for a result way back in 1973, which was the only other previous time we played Red Star Belgrade. Lost 2-1 at their place and then lost 2-1 at home as well. The gentleman that was honest, Chris Lawler, scored Liverpool's goal in both games, and it was by all accounts an incredibly formative experience for Liverpool and for Bill Shankly, who was still manager at that point. And it completely changed the way Liverpool thought about European football and European competition. And within years, we were winning European trophies, and within 4 years we were champions of Europe. So in a way we've got a lot to thank them for, but it has always, a bit like that Torquay friendly in 1927, it has always rankled with me that Red Star Belgrade have been able to claim an 100% unbeaten record against Liverpool, and it was long overdue that came to an end.
Yeah, they did it in some style, actually, to be fair. This is kind of just what the doctor ordered, really, in terms of, frustrating games, lots of games where we hadn't really scored or hadn't created enough chances or just been a bit, lackadaisical with it. And I think we owed someone a bit of a stuffing. And I mean, if you look at the way we set out, with Firmino, Mane, Salah and Shaqiri, in a 4-2-3-1 with Fabinho, who gets his first start. Is this his first start of the season?
No, he started against Chelsea in the Cup.
Yeah, his first start in Europe, and his second start of the season, alongside Wijnaldum. You could see that we were just going to go for it.
Yeah. You thought, will we see a weakened team? Will we see maybe like Mignolet? Because these were kind of probably alongside maybe someone like Victoria Pilsen. These were one of the weaker teams in the whole Champions League group stage, Red Star. And you kind of might have expected maybe a weaker team, someone like Mignolet coming in, possibly Alberto Moreno at left back, maybe Sturridge starting. But no, really strong side, really strong bench, and Divock Origi.
Oh, that's cruel. Also, one thing we should mention is the fact that there were no away fans at all at this game.
Yeah, well, they weren't supposed to be, were they? Because crowd trouble ironically, after they were so jubilant after qualifying for the Champions League group stage for the first time in about 20 years, that Red Star Belgrade fans went a bit nuts and got banned from going to the away games in the Champions League group stage they just so delightedly qualified for, which is sort of harsh. But given the boos that seemed to ring out whenever Kosovo-born Shaqiri touched the ball, a fair few have managed to find themselves away into Anfield all the same.
Well, that's it. But I mean, ultimately, there wasn't a huge atmosphere from them, and it kind of, gave us another advantage. Even though we probably, had the quality over them anyway. And yeah. I mean, it was, it didn't take too long for us to open the scoring. After some great work from Shaqiri into Robertson. It was a great move down the left-hand side. Ball whipped in. Firmino dodges a couple of defenders and slams it home for 1-0.
I mean, it was whipped in almost to his feet, wasn't it? Great cross from Robertson. Again, great build-up play from Shaqiri. Saw that fantastic ball for Salah against Huddersfield. And now another great sort of bit of play that led to a goal. Becoming such an important player already. Got such a kind of creative vision. He's really justifying that sort of £13.5 million outlay to Stoke. Great goal, great start. Yeah, I mean, just what we like.
That was after a couple of other chances that we hadn't taken as well. So I mean, it was all deserved. I mean, it was basically one-way traffic at this point, and it took us to the stroke of half-time to double that lead. But again, it was great work from Wijnaldum through Shaqiri. Plays a lovely little pass into Salah. He slams it home. It's 2-0 for half-time, and I mean, it looks already done and dusted by this point.
It does. I mean, this was an even better bit of play by Shaqiri from the first one. Just one touch, a sort of, like I say, great build-up from Wijnaldum. Comes to Shaqiri, just sort of flick on, so casual, like you sort of see Firmino do, and then Salah with the right foot. And that's, comfortably ahead, deserve to be ahead. Don't look threatened, don't look in trouble. Going at half-time, very happy, content. Maybe you should feel we should have a few more, but can't really complain too much.
No, especially when we come out in the second half and within 5 minutes we rectify that issue. Although slightly controversially.
Yeah, it was a penalty, which I'm trying to remember which one this was, because there was a handball, but I think that was the second one, wasn't it?
That was the second one. The first one was a tackle on Mane, who dived. Sadly.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, it wasn't really a penalty, was it?
No, I'm not. As biased as you want to be as a Liverpool fan, nah, I'm not accepting that. Don't do that, Mane. Not cool.
No, went down very easily.
You're not Raheem Sterling kicking the floor, but even so.
and then Salah is entrusted with a penalty. Buries it, doesn't he? Absolutely wallops it home.
Absolutely.
No kind of posh Panenko or whatever it is, or little steps or chips or placement. Just absolute bang, straight into the onion bag. 3-0 up. Game over.
Is that his first penalty for us he scored?
I don't think it is, but now you've said that, I'm going to check.
Because
I think he scored.
Yeah. I feel like he might have scored one more, but I mean, from what I heard, apparently he said that he's the second penalty taker now after Milner. So,
which is weird, given that we've got Fabinho, who's apparently amazing at penalties, in our ranks now.
Yeah. Well.
Who doesn't even seem to be getting a look in.
No.
It was Salah's third penalty for us. He missed his first against Huddersfield.
Yeah, I remember that one.
Last season. Then he scored against Huddersfield in another 3-0 win against Huddersfield in January, and so this was 2 out of 3, which, as I think Meatloaf would attest, ain't bad.
There we go.
Yeah, but as you say, luckily 3-0, but honestly,
it could easily have happened before that. Salah hitting his 50th goal already for us, 51st, I think, by this point. It was ridiculous.
I think that was his 50th. I think it was his 49th was his... I think his 49th was the first one he scored tonight, and his 50th was the second.
Incredible.
What a run and what a player. And I think the second half then we sort of eased off. Didn't worry.
We should say actually on that note, he broke the record for the quickest way to 50 goals.
By some margin as well.
Yeah, by a good 10 games or something. I think it was Ian Rush who took the record off.
You're right.
Sorry, yeah, I'm just so amazed at his goal scoring prowess. I've just shit a lung.
God, don't say that. It's horrible.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, apart from, shall I
continue while you cough up a
Yeah, please do. Yeah. I'll just sip my lemonade.
Lovely.
It's again after this is not very comfortable for us. Managed to introduce Adam Lallana, gets another 20 minutes. Shaqiri, with a fantastic day's work, is done. We also see Daniel Sturridge come on as well. See him for a little bit. Mo Salah gets a well-deserved rest. And that's interesting because a couple of minutes later, this is the handball we talked about, we are awarded another penalty.
Yeah. Which again, more of a penalty than the first one.
Yeah, because the first one wasn't, but yeah.
Yeah, I think most penalties are more of a penalty than the first one. Still not a clear-cut penalty.
No, it seems a bit harsh.
It does seem harsh, especially when we're already 3-0 down. But I suppose if you're going to give one for the first one, you can't really not and give it for the second one, So yeah, and obviously Salah, who would have been on his hat-trick, just gone off, so it fell to Sadio Mane to take his first ever Liverpool penalty.
In official games, anyway.
Yes, yeah, right, yeah, in official games. And, yeah, not a bad strike. Tipped onto the crossbar by Milan Borjan, the Belgrade keeper. Mane's first two on the rebound, and, gotta say, terrible rebound.
Yeah, he should be scoring that.
Like, really weak shot, real fluffed it, just kind of like rolls it across the front of the goal and rather than towards the goal. Disappointing, but sort of again cosmic justice done compared to given that he won a penalty that wasn't really a penalty and then got to take a penalty that maybe was a penalty but missed it, and it sort of felt okay, 2 penalties in and 3-0 up. That's kind of fair,
Yeah, and I mean
that's kind of where we should be.
Must give credit to the goalkeeper. The goalkeeper actually, it's a fantastic stop from the Canadian international I discovered.
Is there? Yeah, interesting. We've got a Canadian international now, haven't we?
Have we?
Liam Miller in our under-23s.
Oh, is he Canadian?
He's actually got a couple of caps for the senior side. It's weird. We've got because we talked about Kai Mackenzie-Lyle a couple of months ago on this podcast, and yeah, we've actually got quite a few players in our academy who are getting sort of called up to their senior national side before they've even played a first team game for their club. A bit like Ryan McLaughlin did a few years ago with Northern Ireland, if you remember him, and indeed Harry Wilson, who got called up for Wales and played about 5 years before he ever played for Liverpool. So
yeah, and he's now absolutely flying in the Championship.
Yeah,
so.
he's now doing amazingly, actually.
Yeah.
But we'll talk about that another time. I just felt it was time for our kind of now customary mention of a random international side. That, you know, last month it was Cameroon, month before it was Guyana. Just thought I'd give a quick shout out to the Canadian national football team, eh?
In a Canadian accent.
Oh, is that what that was?
Right, yes, well, I'd like to hope so. But fortunately, Sadio Mane did manage to recover it a few minutes later and actually get his goal after some great work from Wijnaldum. Great way to hold off the ball, plays it through to Sturridge, who lays it on a plate to Mane to finish it. It's game over, it's 4-0.
Yeah, and again, there's a very satisfactory feeling to this game because we got a penalty that wasn't a penalty and scored it, and then got a penalty that probably was a penalty and missed it, but then the player who missed the penalty got to score anyway. So it's sort of, there are a lot of loose ends tied up in 90 minutes. Do you know what I mean? It felt like there were no sort of lingering grievances.
No, absolutely right. And so the game ends 4-0, and we've learned quite a lot actually. You know, Shaqiri has to be playing more. He seems to be one of the form players for us at the start of the season, and finally got to see why Fabinho was worth the money, because he was fantastic in this game.
Yeah, you know, flying into tackles left, right and centre, really kind of sort of dominating that midfield. Exactly what we'd just been saying we were sort of lacking, really, that strong spine down the middle. Which bodes really well for when he's sort of. I mean, it's basically, you know, you said we were missing, you know, Oxlade-Chamberlain, and very similar to Fabinho, you know, took a good couple of months for Oxlade-Chamberlain to really justify his place in the side, and a lot of people are thinking, why have we spent all this money on him? And the exact same thing's happening now with Fabinho, and it's great. We should also mention that Adam Lallana getting quite close to making it 5-0 just before the end and managed to blast it straight at the keeper's knees. It was a shame, but I mean, yeah, saw what 20 minutes of Adam Lallana and didn't see an awful lot to see that he's got a future with us. And we saw 8 minutes of Alberto Moreno as well, which was just, you know, for old time's sake.
Well, that actually leads us on nicely to the final game of the month, because actually we take this victory and we stay at Anfield, welcoming another team who maybe aren't of the highest quality, but certainly recently promoted, and that is Cardiff City.
Yeah, Neil Warnock's Cardiff City. Again, Neil Warnock said some very nice things about Liverpool in the build-up to the match. He seems to be mellowing in his autumn years.
Yeah, it's nice.
Does Mr. Warnock? Which, it is nice, because I don't particularly like the man, but, you know, if he wants to reinvent himself as the cuddly old granddad of bottom-table Premier League football, then fair play to him with that.
He seems to be going the other way to Roy Hodgson, who's just getting more angry.
Yeah, but I quite like angry Hodgson.
Oh, it's so good. It's so good. If anyone,
it kind of does it to me that I like.
If you've never seen the towards the end of last season, the interview that was cut from the BBC website but got leaked online, oh, do go and watch it. It's amazing.
I don't think I've seen that.
Have you not? It's where he like swears his mate if he gets really sweary. Have you not seen it?
Oh man, I'm gonna have to have a look at that.
Yeah.
No, I've not.
Oh man, it's so good.
Ah, right. Well, that's a bit for me to do after this podcast.
Fair enough.
Look up Sweary Hodgson.
Sweary Hodgson. I can't miss it. Just Google Roy Hodgson interview. It's the first one you'll find. Yeah, this was as we mentioned, speaking of Alberto Moreno, gets his first start for us of the season, with Andrew Robertson getting a well-deserved break. Lallana again starting. We saw him for a good hour in this game, and we also saw Fabinho rewarded for his good work in the midweek, and he gets another start. But sadly, Shaqiri didn't. Not 100% sure why. But then we also saw the return of Firmino into up front. So I guess, you know, works out either way.
Yeah, I get the sense that, you know, Klopp is trying to keep Shaqiri's powder dry at the moment. And, you know, if what we've seen has been him at, like, you know, if you say that Fabinho and Shaqiri are in similar places in their kind of Liverpool careers, and that they're at the same level in terms of what they're capable of, then we've got a hell of a player on our hands in Shaqiri, because if that's him at kind of like half decent, still working his way in, when he's actually a fully fledged member of the side, he's going to be phenomenal.
But one of the bargains of the season.
Absolutely. What a signing! What a buy! So how did this game go? Let's talk. Let's.
It went quite well, actually. Thank you very much. Yeah.
It did, didn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we were from the off. We were all over them, causing them all sorts of problems. With fluidity and movement, and it took up to 10 minutes for us to score after, the ball would come in. I think a couple of players had tried to smash it, tried to finish it. Wijnaldum and Mane both did. I think at one point their captain basically saved it with his arm. But it fell to Salah on an angle who didn't make a mistake. It was 1-0.
Sort of, good to have Salah there to just wallop it in. It's what Salah of last season would have done. He seems to be rediscovering that mojo. Do you know what I mean? Since that goal against Huddersfield, it's now his 4th goal in 3 games. We're kind of getting our Salah back.
Well, what's nice is that his record is better than Hazard, who some were saying was the best player in the league at the moment.
Yeah, I think that's only because he had like 2 good games against us, and he's kind of faded again.
Yeah. Exactly. Well, now we're starting to see the real Chelsea, but anyway,
Salah 1-0 up, and obviously Cardiff had turned up trying to defend for their lives, and it was very obvious they were, because they were throwing everything at us, trying to hold everyone back, but after that first breakdown, it did actually work, and it certainly for the rest of the first half it was certainly all one-way traffic, and we were just either unlucky, unfortunate, or not clinical enough to add to our goals, Callie.
We came close with Van Dijk, didn't we? He hit the post.
Yeah, it's a great header, actually. Very difficult header. It comes in from a free kick, and actually it's like a second phase of play from a ball in. It's a great header. It sort of dribbles agonisingly onto the post and goes wide. It's interesting that Van Dijk hasn't actually scored for us in a competitive game since his debut. So.
Yeah, it's indeed his only goal for us. He's never scored in the league. For us. In fact, you say a competitive game. I don't think he's scored in a friendly, has he?
He has. He scored in a friendly in America against someone. I can't remember who it was. Oh, Dortmund. That was right.
Oh yes, he did. That's right. Yeah.
Yeah, I knew he had scored another, but it didn't count very much. And so at half time it's 1-0, and whilst we look comfortable, there have been many games this season where 1-0 has not necessarily been the most comfortable situation to be in.
Yes, you can say that again. In fact, most of them.
Yeah.
But we came out for the second half, and spent the first sort of 15 minutes of the second half not creating too many chances, I suppose. The longer it went on, the more edgy it got, because Cardiff, sat back and defended. We had all the possession, but
to be fair, Cardiff equalised, because actually they scored a goal from a free kick, which was offside, and it was ruled out. But it kind of showed that in the second half they were being a bit more threatening, and it wasn't going to be that easy for us.
No, you're right. And then we made a substitution which sort of turned the game around, really, didn't we?
Yeah, that man we mentioned a moment ago.
Yeah. Shaqiri comes on after the hour for Adam Lallana, comes off, decent run out for Lallana, and then our game just goes up a gear, and within 5 minutes we've doubled our lead. Yep,
Sadio Mane smashes in another one after it took a couple of deflections off defenders, eventually falls to Mane. Some great work, I think, from Wijnaldum to actually get the ball, squeeze it through to him, bounces off him, but he makes no mistake and smashes it home.
It's what we like. That's the 6th goal in a row that's been scored by one of our front three. I think.
Well, it's very noticeable that Firmino hasn't scored for a while, but that's the great thing about having our front three, is if one goes off the boil, the other two are there.
Yeah, and I mean, we've also got to temper what are massively high expectations based on last season, because we just said Firmino's not scored for a while, and he scored in the game literally before this one. I think almost we're scoring so many that it's easy to kind of, unless we're like scoring every game, it's very easy to think that they're going through a bit of a drought, but actually, we're seeing some really it's almost, reports of our front three's demise have been exaggerated.
Hugely.
To quote Oscar Wilde, sort of.
A few minutes after that, actually, we're talking about Bobby Firmino. I don't know if you've seen this, Owen, but this is the just another piece of individual genius from Firmino, who.
Oh, is this down on the goal line?
Yeah, he was sort of on the byline, and he's sort of got nowhere to go. He's basically fallen on the floor, I think, or sort of been, trying to chase the ball back, been nudged, fallen on the floor, and whilst lying down, without even looking, backheel nutmegs the defender.
It was sublime.
Ridiculous. But amazing. And, obviously he didn't know who was behind him, but he passed it into space and Shaqiri picked it up, so...
Yeah, it's just classic Firmino. I think he might not be scoring, but while he's still doing that, we shouldn't be too worried. You know what I mean?
No, absolutely. I mean, he is, the ultimate team player and makes our system tick when he's on his game, so...
Yeah, and just plays with such enjoyment, you know what I mean? Plays with such a smile on his face that, you've not really seen anyone since Ronaldinho. That sheer love of the game, that kind of love of having a few flicks and spins and, all of that is just heartening to watch.
Well, I tell you what, if he's anything like Ronaldinho, we've got some player.
Well, I don't think he's hit his peak yet, Firmino. I think he's got, the best is yet to come.
I hope you're right.
But back to the game, and there was a bit of a turn up for the books next, because we conceded a goal at Anfield for the first time since February.
Yeah, first home conceded in 11 games. But the thing is, if you start Alberto Moreno...
In the league.
And if you start Alberto Moreno, you're going to concede a goal. So...
Yeah.
Comes down the left-hand side.
Yeah, there's kind of... It feels a long time ago, but at the beginning of the last season, Alberto Moreno was our first choice left-back, wasn't it? Comes on the left-hand side, gets sort of rolled over to Callum Patterson, wasn't it?
Who deflects off Van Dijk, unfortunately.
Yeah, and Patterson is there to just sort of jab it in. Don't know how much he knew about it. It was a kind of opportunity, like a poacher's goal, but then poacher's goals are still goals. And yeah, we've conceded at home, which is a bit rubbish, but
particularly
more worrying.
A weaker team, yeah.
Yeah, and a goal that so needless to give away, a bit like the one Alisson let in against Leicester. What was more worrying was the fact that it seemed to rejuvenate Cardiff for a bit, and made you think, oh, hang on, we're not as secure as we thought we were here. And there was a very sort of nervy 7 or 8 minutes.
Can I quickly mention something before you move on? Callum Patterson is a right back, don't you?
Is he?
He's been converted into a striker by Warnock.
Oh wow, I did not know that.
Yeah,
I know very little about Cardiff, other than the fact their goalkeeper is the first Filipino to play in the Premier League.
Yeah,
I mean, and Sol Bamba is better than Van Dijk, so we've learnt that today.
Yes, according to Neil Warnock. Why would he lie?
No, exactly. He knows everything.
What reason has he got for lying?
Anyway, you were saying.
I can't remember what was I saying?
Yeah, Cardiff won the ascendancy until that man we mentioned several times already in this podcast bags his first goal in front of the Kop to settle the nerves.
Xherdan Shaqiri is paid back by Mo Salah for all the lovely assists he's given him earlier in October. Mo puts a great ball through to him. Shaqiri sort of takes it past one defender and sort of tucks it into the left-hand bottom corner, and he was delighted.
It's a brilliant move.
Of course, it's a brilliant outside of foot pass from Salah, and very good bit of tight movement in the centre. Finishes at home. Yeah, brilliant goal.
Brilliant goal, well deserved. He's had a fantastic month. He's had a fantastic season up to now. Long may it continue. A load of fans have really warmed to Shaqiri. You can see why, and it was great to see him get his first goal in a Liverpool shirt, and at Anfield, and in front of a Kop, and such a good goal as well. It was, really satisfying goal.
And let's hope for a few more to come. And just to put the icing on the cake, a quick breakaway with Cardiff trying to go forward. Sees Mo Salah running through, plays it through to Sadio Mane, and a brilliant dink to finish over the keeper for 4-1.
I mean, it was the definition of a dink, wasn't it? It was the epitome of dink, which is all you can ask for at the end of the day. and this was the end of the day. But if you said to me, Owen, what do you see happening at the end of this match? How would you like this to be wrapped up? I'd say the epitome of Dink, Matt. I would like to see the epitome of Dink.
And it's what we did see.
Oh, what a great name for a band or an album that would be, the epitome of Dink.
Yeah.
I can't stop saying it.
Yeah, please.
It just rolls off the tongue.
You need to stop saying it before it turns to jelly in your head.
One more, go on. Let me have one more.
Then.
The epitome of Dink.
Yeah, there you go.
Oh,
write that down. You might be able to use it sometime.
I will. I'm going to write it down in big letters. I'm going to write it on Skype so that every time I talk to you, I am reminded of it.
Change my Skype name. There you go. Yeah, and that made it 4-1. Sadio Mane, it's another goal for him. He's been racking them up a little bit, hasn't he, actually, this season? Quietly just going about his business, getting goals here, there, and everywhere. Interesting stat, though, I pulled up. Do you know we've had no Premier League penalties at Anfield in over a year now?
Yeah, it's been a long old time.
And it's, when you can think of all the penalties we have had, they've at home, they've always been in Europe or the Cups or whatever, so... but there's one more thing, because obviously that's the end of fixtures for the month for Liverpool, and we will do our features in a moment. However, there is something else that we have to mention that shocked the Premier League and the whole football world, and ended one of the most amazing stories in sporting history in one of the saddest ways you possibly can imagine.
Yes, this is of course the helicopter crash that took place outside the King Power Stadium, the home ground of Leicester City, after their game against West Ham on the 27th of October. Took off from the middle of a pitch carrying the very popular chairman, whose name, just out of respect, I'm not going to attempt to pronounce because I don't think I'll be able to get it right, and it feels wrong to mispronounce.
I refer to him as Vichai because that was his first name.
Vichai. He's known as Kun Vichai to Leicester fans and players, and Kun Vichai's helicopter took off from the middle of the pitch after the game. A common occurrence. A lot of fans often see it flying over top of them as they're on the way out of the ground and on the way home. On this evening, it had just taken off and just cleared the stadium when the pilot just lost all control. Or rather, in fairness to the pilot, the helicopter stopped responding to his controls and came down in a nearby car park, killing all of those on board. And I feel it is right to say that it wasn't just Kun Vichai who was killed. He was killed alongside two of his staff, Nasura Sukname and Cave Porn Pumpara. Apologies if I've mispronounced that. My knowledge of Thai language is not ideal. And pilot Eric Swaffer and Isabella Rosa Lekovic, who was also on board, all five were killed in what was one of the darkest days in English football for a long time, and almost undoubtedly the darkest day in Leicester's history, because after all, Matt, this was a man who had done so much for the city, for the club and for the city as a whole, was he not?
Yeah, and I mean, he was the orchestrator behind the greatest story that the Premier League has ever told.
Yeah, because obviously Leicester have had such a massive few years, you kind of forget where they came from to get there. But when Kun Vichai took over Leicester, they were, I think, a League One club. And, he took them to the Champions League quarter-finals. And that's... I mean, even now it's happened, it's still unimaginable. And the fact that it's actually happened in the last couple of years and you still can't imagine it happening tells you what a ridiculously fairy tale achievement it was. It'd be like, Oxford United being in the Champions League by 2023. Just a bafflingly balmy story. To come up to a championship. They got Nigel Pearson as manager. He got them promoted as champions. That championship, they were in great danger of being relegated. Pearson, despite picking a fight with I think every single journalist in England, managed to guide him to safety. Then he got sacked, and Claudio Ranieri took over and was like, oh my god, Ranieri, why him? He's so past it. And then, I mean, the rest really is history. And this fantastic achievement was bettered only by the incredible sense of team spirit Ranieri and indeed Kunvichai seemed to foster among the team, and between the team and the fans, and between the fans and the city as a whole. And the little gestures that you constantly read about that he did. When it was his birthday, he gave every fan at the game a piece of birthday cake. When they got to the end of not the season, but it was at the end of 2015, the last game of 2015. Every Leicester fan was given a free bottle of beer as they went into the stadium to mark what had been such a great year for the club. Obviously, just avoiding relegation back to the Championship and then having such a impressive start to the season. And then the same thing happened when they won the league. He was such a kind of man of the people, and obviously you wouldn't, but even so, there's not been a single bad or even mildly, ambivalent word said about him since his death. And it really was a tragedy that united the world of football. And we would like to say on behalf of Plastic Scousers to Kunvichai and his family, and to the victims and their families as well, of your victims of Nusara and Cave Porn and Eric and Isabella. Truly, you will never walk alone.
Well said. Yeah, what a terrible end to that story. Yeah, Leicester did, there was a vigil, and everyone got to pay their respects, and everyone came back, and of course Leicester then continues, and after postponing their next game, will come back strongly, and football will carry on, and his family will carry on looking after the club, and I'm sure, continuing to inject the passion and enthusiasm he had for them, and I for one hope that we see Leicester around the Premier League for a long time. So.
Yes, and I hope that they can build or continue to build on the remarkable legacy which he has left both the club and the city under the sort of new stewardship of his son. So all the best of them.
Exactly. Yeah. This is an awkward segue now, isn't it, Owen?
Yeah. Should we go for an ad break instead? And
yeah, I mean,
maybe come back.
Hopefully, life will come on.
Life continues, and
football continues, and we'll look at next month, of course. And Liverpool have a host more games to play that we'll be able to have a look at. But before we go on and maybe talk about some of our own features throughout the next for the next hour or so, we need to take a break for the ads.
Having trouble carrying around all the things you need for your daily life? Tired of dragging a bag everywhere you go? Can't fit all your house bricks in your normal pockets? Then you need Van Dyke trunks. Van Dyke trunks are the apparel for all your trouser-based needs. Our one-size-fits-all trunks, so long as you're 6'4" with a slim leg, come with all the essentials you expect from the clothing on your bottom half, including a left leg, a right leg, and a waist area too. These snazzy garments come in a range of colours, including red and orange. They also include enough pockets to keep all your items. Whether it's keys, wallets, mobile telephones, and even Premier League strikers, Van Dyke trunks can certainly keep them in their pockets. Van Dyke trunks can be worn in any situation. In the office, having a drink with friends, at the swimming baths, on trial for arson, or simply relaxing at home. You'll be the talk of the town in your Van Dyke trunks, pushing the ladies away as if they were third men running in a Champions League group game, and being the envy of all your friends. You can take Van Dyke trunks anywhere, knowing they'll hold you steady no matter what the occasion. Van Dyke trunks, only 75 million guilders. You are personally liable if the trunks happen to fall down at a key moment. Do not expect the trunks to solve all your problems. Gomez socks not included.
Andy Robertson sits at a swanky casino, clearly reading every single hand of poker, blackjack, rummy, craps, roulette, and the one with the dice. I think I said that before. All of a sudden, masked men burst in and run towards Andy Robertson, viciously. Andy Robertson throws several decks of expensive playing cards in the air and jumps through the blizzard of playing cards. All of a sudden, Andy Robertson is on a jet ski, riding through the sewers underneath Arbroath, which has very distinctive sewers. Andy Robertson swerves several obstacles on a jet ski and does lots of little flicks and tricks and spins and jumps and stuff. Also on the jet ski. In front of Andy Robertson is a fatberg the size of an IMAX screen. Cut to Andy Robertson's face in close-up, which takes on that look of steely determination. Andy Robertson accelerates flat out towards the fatberg. As the jet ski collides with the fatberg, Andy Robertson vanishes. Cut to Andy Robertson falling through the air towards the streets of Paris. The sharp end of the Eiffel Tower looms out of the clouds as Andy Robertson falls closer and closer to Earth, seemingly about to impale his pale Scottish body on the famous landmark. Then, crash! Andy Robertson crash lands on a dining table in a fine upmarket restaurant. Andy Robertson picks himself up off the table, brushing a lobster off his shoulders as he moves away, ruffles the hair of a chimp. Andy Robertson takes a tray off a passing beautiful waitress and lifts up the cloche. Under the cloche is Andy Robertson's face. Andy Robertson's face winks. Robbo, from man.
Hi, I'm James Milner, CEO and Financial Administrator of James Milner Industries. You may know us from our most recent business success, James Milner's Millers, with me, James Milner, as well as James Milner's Tea Bags, with me, James Milner, and of course, James Milner's Holiday Park, with me, James Milner. Now, James Milner Industries is branching out and breaking new ground in the West Yorkshire area, with the introduction of the region's third facility in which all animals are housed within enclosures. Introducing James Milner's Cheap Zoo, with me, James Milner. James Milner's Cheap Zoo, with me, James Milner, houses over 5 different types of animals, including elephants, lemurs, tigers, puffins, geckos, and ants. Well, the ants aren't intentionally there, but we built the site on a large ant colony and thought we'd turn it into a feature. Actually, I wanted 7 animals, as that's a number on my shirt, but I can't afford to pay lion tamers, and monkeys are a bit scary, you know. But why do you call it a cheap zoo, I hear you ask? Well, it's not because we have birds at the zoo. Because birds cheap. Cheap. No, actually, we currently don't have any birds in our zoo, as the ones we did have flew away. No, it's because the zoo is actually quite cheap. Prices start at £1 lower than any other zoos in the area, unless they decide to lower their prices, in which case we'll be more expensive. Actually, I hadn't thought about that. Maybe we should change your name. Come visit James Milner's Possibly Cheap Zoo with me, James Milner, at our site on Tong Lane, West Yorkshire, opposite Jack Mill Farm, just beyond the Back Lane horse riding stables, today. Actually, due to legal restrictions, we can only open for 4 months a year, as the rest of the time the animals have to hibernate or be given back to their owners. We'll be open again in February.
From the finest chocolatiers in the Great Wirral area, new LFC Chocolat Deluxe. That's right, Chocolat Deluxe. It's so sumptuous, we don't even put an E on the end. Immerse yourselves in the most creamy, velvety, once-in-a-generation chocolate you'll ever push past your teeth, and revel in the splendor of a drink infused with the glory of Liverpool, the Italy. As easily as rich as this chocolate. It's really, really rich chocolate.
Try our devastatingly dark 86% cocoa chocolate mixed with the mud we dug up when we built our new main stand and sprinkled with delicious hazelnuts and bits of cement. Ravish our exceptional milk chocolate swirled with the flammy spit of Joe Gomez for a gleamy, inspired taste. And quiver at the elegance of our white chocolate containing the eyeball milk of some of Liverpool's most sophisticated number 9s, Ricky Lambert, Christian Benteke, Diego Asbaza, Ricky Lambert again. Ricky Lambert produces a lot of the eyeball milk. And now, inside Burger is a new delicious all chocolate of the Garlins, perfect for a festive treat. Choose from Father Christmas, Rusty the Snowman, or Antonio Barragan. Just bite into them. Go on. You know you want to. Go on. Go on. Do it. Bite it. Bite Antonio Barragan's chocolatey head. LFC chocolate deluxe. It is legally one of a kind.
And so, because it was October, and we always like to theme our months as much as we can, last year, of course, we did Trick or Tweet, one of my personal favourite games I've invented. We thought we should do some more Halloween scary stuff in terms of what we're doing for the rest of the podcast. So let's take a little deep dive and have a little discussion, a bit of a round table, on Liverpool's horror moments. Ooh.
That was some good oohs there.
Bit of a scary. So this is a reminder, we did obviously last year, we did the worst ever Premier League A to Z, which reminded us of some of the worst players. But this is more to do with the worst moments of Liverpool history, not in a more funny way, in a silly way, when great players do accidentally embarrassing things. Or when silly, really silly stuff happens, when people miss open goals and dumb stuff happens. We just wanted to have a little chat about, some of our favourites of those.
Yes, absolutely. So Matt, why don't you start us off?
Yes, I would love to. Now, of course, one of the things with this is we have a lot more recorded content over the last sort of 25 years with the Premier League and just before, because obviously before that it wasn't ubiquitous for coverage to be, overall games and things. So there may be many things that we don't know about, moments that we haven't got captured that we can't unfortunately remember. So a lot of this will be modern. But I wanted to start off with arguably Liverpool's greatest ever player in Kenny Dalglish. And a horror miss against Man United that was absolutely atrocious. Now, have you ever seen this?
I don't believe I have.
I'm going to send this to you because it is. The whole thing is beggars belief. I can't really explain what happens. I'm just going to ask. In fact, what I want to do is I'm going to ask you to watch it and try and give some semblance of idea as to how. Well, one, how Kenny Dalglish ends up in this situation, and two, how the player, arguably the greatest player we've ever had, manages to do what he does. I'm just going to send you the link there. So just describe what you're seeing when you watch it.
Hansen has broken through, plays it across to Dalglish. Wow, that's awful. Holy cow, that's appalling. So Hansen's kind of got the ball in the middle of a pitch. Somehow all the United players kind of rush past him. He breaks free with Kenny Dalglish. Hansen runs it almost unchallenged up to the United area, and as he gets to the sort of the edge of a penalty area, which looks like a bomb set at the edge of a 6-yard box, he rolls it past the Man United goalkeeper, whoever that would have been at the time, Pat Jennings, or was he Arsenal? And basically Dalglish is level with the post, and decides to shoot with his right foot. So he's literally got an open goal, keeper's on the floor. Dalglish shoots with his right, and it looks a bit like he gets caught in the mud, but he basically just puts it to the left of the goalpost, and just misses from less than 6 yards out an open goal.
It's just...
That's atrocious. I've never seen that before.
I mean, where the hell are the Man United team going?
Yeah, I mean...
What? I've never seen that in a football match. All 11 of them are in a line running forwards.
Yeah, it's sort of like... looks like rugby, do you know what I mean?
What the hell is going on? How has Alan Hansen chipped the ball to himself over the entire team?
That was a fantastic bit of skill. I didn't know Alan Hansen was capable of that. That was brilliant.
I mean, is that how bad football was back then?
It's how bad Man United were back then, clearly.
Jesus Christ.
Absolutely. But,
oh, man.
Yeah, I'm not sure I've got anything that can compete with that.
I've got a few others, but we're not really competing, we're just sort of discussing them. So.
No, but, well, I've got a classic. We'll start off with a classic. Jimmy Traore.
Ah, wonderful.
Against Burnley, Turf Moor, January 2005. A Liverpool team that I think it's fair to say wasn't the most illustrious team we've ever put out, even by sort of Benitez's sort of domestic cup standards. Just a reminder of who featured in this. Should we say infamous game? It was the FA Cup third round. It had actually already been rescheduled once, so it was taking place about 2 weeks later than all the other FA Cup third rounds because of heavy rain at Turf Moor. This was a team that had, a starting place for Antonio Nunes, which says it all, with David Raven starting in defence alongside Zach Whitbread, and a sort of a front three of John Welsh, Darren Potter, and Florence Cinema Pongal. Jimmy Traore then was one of the more senior players in the team, and just after the start of a team of the opposition, interestingly, included Gary Cahill. That's a little fact we don't talk about very often.
Wow.
Yeah. Basically, ball kind of comes across 6-yard box, a bit similar to where Hansen had it against Man United. And Traore does this sort of wonderful sort of pivot, back heel, kind of plants his foot and then sort of spins around on it, with all the pizzazz of a Broadway dancer, and manages to kind of back heel it beyond Jerzy Dudek into his own net. When it would have been easier to kind of do literally anything else with it, including swallow it, but he somehow managed to back. I mean, it's one of the most skillful own goals you'll ever see.
Like a Cruyff turn, isn't it?
Yeah, that's exactly what it was. It was sort of a kind of a Cruyff turn, an unmarked Cruyff turn into his own net from 6 yards out. I'm reminded of a quote I think it was Graham Taylor once said about Carlton Palmer, who was a fairly mediocre footballer who played for England at the beginning of the 1990s. He said, Carlton Palmer can trap a ball further than I can kick it. And again, with a Cruyff turn, the ball's not really supposed to, leave you. The whole point of a Cruyff turn is that you keep the ball rather than give away possession. So it was a fantastic Cruyff turn own goal, but it was also in its own right a dreadful Cruyff turn. And it was Burnley's winner. That's what knocked us out the FA Cup. And then Antonio Nunes got sent off 3 minutes before full time, just to add insult to injury.
Wonderful. Yeah, I mean, it's a classic. Everyone remembers the classic, Jimmy Traore. But also mention, let's discuss the other classic, the one thing that this man is known for, Ronnie Rosenthal. I mean, this is the epitome of it, isn't it? Really.
It is. This is, if Ronnie Rosenthal lived to be 140, people would still be talking about this miss more than anything else he's ever done. Do you know what I mean? He could win every Nobel Prize going, and the first sentence on his Wikipedia will always be known for that miss in 1992.
Yeah.
Or whenever it was.
Do you want to run us through it? Or shall I run you through it?
Yeah, you run us through it. Go on.
I will run you through
Run us through it.
Run us through it. I mean, I feel slightly bad for him because, it's not the worst miss in Premier League history by a long shot, but because it was the first one, and because the Premier League was such a big thing, it was going to be such a big deal, it's just the one everyone remembers. I mean, ultimately, it's a long goal kick from David James, Ball drops, defender misses it. Rosenthal, to be fair, brilliant first touch, take it round an on-rushing goalkeeper. In open goal, all he has to do is roll. He could run it into the net. What does he decide to do? Belt it against the crossbar, off the underside of the crossbar, bounces out, and defender clears it. It's just horrible. And it's also bloody hilarious. Oh, poor guy.
Yeah, it's iconic in all the wrong ways, isn't it? He's almost changed his name by default to Ronnie That Miss Rosenthal.
Yeah, that miss.
Well, I'm gonna go change tack slightly. I'm gonna stay with a minor detail of the Burnley game for my next suggestion. Because on the bench that night, unused as it turns out, was a player called John Otsemabor. Do you remember him?
I do.
You know where this is going.
I know where this is going.
One of the kind of weirdest players to ever play for us, not only because his surname was Otsemabor, which is a surname I've never come across before or since. He was a local lad, broke into the team late 2002. Sort of enjoyed a really good spell of first team action, and then completely vanished. And kind of ended up only playing 6 games for Liverpool. But remarkably, he was still on the books when we won the Champions League, which seems a long time after he should have left us. But in 2003, he was just out in the city centre of Liverpool, and he got shot by gangsters with a pistol, which sounds like not a joking matter. It sounds like, ooh, that's a bit serious for a feature that is, although called Horror Moments, obviously designed to be, light-hearted and full of levity and whimsy. So Matt, why is this acceptable to talk about?
He got shot in the bum.
He got shot in the bum. And I can't even remember why he got shot in the bum.
Wasn't he just in the line of fire? I thought he was in a nightclub or something.
Yeah, in the line of fire, indeed. I don't. His arse was in the line of fire.
It's not funny, but it's also really hilarious.
It's hilarious because he got shot in the arse.
Oh man! Imagine telling that to your grandkids. Oh, I was shot once.
Imagine telling your grandkids, oh, Liverpool, the greatest team in the history of world football. Yeah. Oh, I played for them once. Oh, did you, Grandad? Yeah. And do you know what? Nobody talks about my 6 Liverpool appearances. Oh, why not, Grandad? What do they talk about instead whenever they say the name John Otsemabor, such a memorable name? Oh,
because he was,
They talk about the time I took a bullet up the arse.
It's not up the arse, right? It was a cheek shot.
It could be a cheek.
It's a cheek shot.
Technically, that's still up the arse.
I guess so, yeah.
It's just a different way. So I mean, I don't know if this is really a horror moment or more of a kind of an action moment, like more akin to Bad Boys 2. But I'm not sure if I didn't mention it now when I would next get to. So, do you know what was kind of tragic?
Go on.
There's a couple of weeks afterwards, someone set fire to a car.
No, it's not funny.
It's not funny at all.
Oh well.
Why am I laughing?
At least he actually went on to have a decent career.
Yeah, he went on to play for
He's lost.
Rotherham United, Norwich City, Southampton, Sheffield Wednesday, and MK Dons before finishing up on loan at Tranmere again. But he also played 4 times for England under 21s. But I just don't understand. He got shot in the arse and someone said
They're 2 separate incidents.
I think Owen's lost it, ladies and gentlemen.
I don't know what you're laughing, mate. It's really cruel, but it's also hilarious. I can't argue with it.
It's cruel to be kind.
Oh dear.
Yeah. So that's John.
Great. Well, at least we've covered his illustrious Liverpool career. I'm gonna bring things back down to earth a little bit now. allowing
Owen to settle himself down.
Oh, God. Okay, I'm fine.
You done yet?
Oh, I needed that. Oh, I feel better for that. That's done wonders for me.
Fantastic. I'm
going to bring about probably, we're talking about horror moments. I think this is probably the biggest horror signing we've ever made. And I'm going to bring up one moment in particular from the horrendous career of Mario Balotelli at Liverpool, and that's his QPR miss. I don't know if you remember this one.
I kind of remember it happening, but can't remember the details.
This is in the crazy 3-2 game that was 1-1 until about the 91st minute.
Was there then loads of own goals?
Yeah, there's a couple of own goals in this game. We won it with an own goal. But Mario Balotelli, so the Raheem Sterling's running down the right-hand side. Brilliant work, brilliant play. Plays it across. It's deflected into the path of Adam Lallana. It's a good save from the keeper. Mario Balotelli, 4 yards out, steps up. He hasn't scored for us in the Premier League. Your nan could have scored it with her eyes shut. No, he blazed over the bar. And I think that is literally the iconic moment I think about Mario Balotelli's Liverpool career, and just sums up everything that was wrong with that period of time.
Yeah. Seems weird when you say Raheem Sterling was running it down the right-hand side, but that's kind of... You sort of forget he was a Liverpool player, do you know what I mean?
Oh, I don't.
Well, I dislike him so much, but I kind of extricated him from my memories of Liverpool, I suppose.
Do you remember a miss he had against Newcastle as well? I mean, he missed a lot of good chances, but there's one against Newcastle in particular where he,
Sterling or Balotelli?
Sterling, where he was played in a few yards out in front of goal, managed to slice it left far wide, and it's just like, that kind of, he never was the best finisher in the world, but I think now we can just look back on it with joy.
A lot more joy than we can look back on with my next horror moment, which I'm afraid to say is another own goal.
Mm-hmm.
This one isn't even that funny, it's just really depressing. John Arse against Chelsea, do you remember it?
I don't.
It was in the dying embers of a Champions League semi-final? Maybe it was yeah, it would have been a semi-final, because we beat Arsenal in the quarterfinals. Yeah, first leg, April 2008. We were 1-0 up at Anfield. Dirk Kuyt would score just before half time. Really good performance. We were just holding on to the end, and we were looking at going into the second leg of Champions League semi-final, 1-0 up, and about to go to a third Champions League final in 4 years. And then the ball came across the goal mouth, as it seems to keep happening tonight. And John Arse, who was a brilliant player for us, this is literally on the 90th minute, takes the decision, rather than stick it was about sort of waist height, and rather than stick his leg out and clear it like any normal defender would, he kind of crouched down to head it away, and the ball just bounced off his head and beyond Pepe Reina. And Chelsea had an away goal, and the wind was completely out of our sails. And then a week later, we went to Stamford Bridge, and we drew 1-1. So the game went to extra time, at which point Chelsea scored twice, and we got one back late on, but basically ended up going out of Champions League. Semi-final, second leg in extra time, all because of a John Arse own goal, which sort of became his one of his last acts for the club. I think I think that was, I don't think he barely played again after that, and it was such a sad way to end his career. This isn't at all funny, actually, compared to someone being shot. Compared to someone being shot in the arse and having their car set on fire.
Picture,
this is really sad. But it was a horrible moment. It was. It was a horror. It cost us a bloody Champions League. We'd have had Man United in the final as well. It would have been great. We could have thrashed them.
But if you're talking about horror moments that cost us the Champions League, I think last year's better reference.
Yeah, well, I was coming to that.
Oh, were you actually?
Well, it was on my list, yeah.
Oh, fair enough. Yeah, well, unfortunately I don't remember it, but thank you for reminding me of that. Let me cheer you up a little bit with a couple of smaller moments that I wanted to mention. The Aspas corner.
Yes.
Which is,
I mean,
like, in terms of hot, I don't think a worse set piece has ever been played in a Liverpool shirt. Unless you look at Jose Enrique's free kick as well. That's another one.
that was fantastic.
Just wanders onto the pitch, just calmly passes it to the other team. So it's West Ham. I can't remember what it was. I think it was West Ham, wasn't it? No.
Yeah, it was West Ham in an FA Cup replay, wasn't it?
Yes, that's right, that we would go on to lose, and he would just pass the ball gently to West Ham for them to run off with. Yeah.
And I think that was his last game for us as well.
Absolutely.
I think it was his last kick of a ball as a Liverpool player.
I think Aspas was the same, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think it might be, because that was against Chelsea, wasn't it? In the third last game of the season.
Yeah, and they broke away to score the second.
Yeah, bloody hell.
Fernando Torres of all people as well. So.
Cost us a fucking title.
Yep.
So there we go.
Yeah, and also I just wanted to remind something actually you reminded me of. I mean, this podcast has been full of amazing, interesting things you've taught me about. You know, the semi-independent nation of Sealand.
I've forgotten I brought that up.
Yeah, you know, I ended up buying my parents' Lord and Lady ships.
Really?
Yeah, I genuinely did. After you told me, so yeah.
Oh, I've got a fancy one of them.
Yeah.
How much of it?
It was £50 a pop.
Ooh, I suppose that's a price of a peerage, I suppose.
Yeah, so
I can't even remember why did that come up. I
think it's something to do with Julian Dix.
Yes, that sounds right.
So there we go.
But this is just something you absolutely reminded me of that I enjoyed, which was just Milan Jovanovic summing himself up in a moment with the worst attempt to head a ball I've seen from a Liverpool player in my life.
Oh God, yes.
I can't stop.
Yes.
Once you told me about it, I can't stop watching it.
It's so good because it's so bad. It's like a belly flop.
It is, isn't it? It's like a.
Oh man, so good.
I mean, I can't even really explain the build-up to it, but...
Well, we're clearing our lines, basically. We're trying to clear the ball out. Let me try and remember it. It's against Arsenal, isn't it?
I think so, yeah. And it's just this kind of... It's a little hop, isn't it? It's a little kind of... He doesn't jump so much as he just kind of springs, like, face forward.
Yeah.
He doesn't go up.
Just pushed it again.
He doesn't go vertically, he goes, like... horizontally and
So basically, I'll just explain, the ball is cleared out by a defender, but it's like an up and under, so it's kind of got up, and he's about 5 yards outside our box, and he sort of goes to head it, just barely flops on the ground. It's become my favourite moment. I just think it's just utterly brilliant. It's just, you know, because if you Google Milan Jovanovic Liverpool tribute, it's just 30 seconds of that. It's literally it. Yeah. Oh man.
Yeah, it's probably my second favourite Milan Jovanovic moment, but definitely his best in Liverpool shirt.
So yeah, what else you got?
I think mine are really depressing in comparison.
I said this was supposed to be fun.
Yeah, well, it was kind of. I thought we'd find the humour in the dark moments. Do you remember what did you God. Do you remember did you
I can't wait to find out what Cisse did.
He broke his leg in about half a dozen places.
I do remember that because I remember seeing the image and being utterly shocked.
It was disgusting, wasn't it? You could almost see his shin poking through his sock.
God.
It was absolutely horrendous. I remember them not showing it on I was like 12 when it happened, and they wouldn't even show it on Match of the Day because it was such a awful
leg break.
Yeah. But they wouldn't put the photo of the papers. He basically got an extra knee.
Why is that funny, Owen?
I don't know.
It's not.
I don't know, Matt. Okay, I don't know why it's funny. I think it's so unfunny that I'm just desperate to laugh at it.
Fair enough.
Because I've realised I've chosen some really miserable things for this feature.
So I misread the memo.
Yeah, sort of got the wrong end of the stick here. Like, oh, what can I remember from the Liverpool sort of past 20 years? It's been particularly horrible. Oh, I know, a man getting shot and someone almost losing his leg.
Right.
Yeah. Have we got any others?
I've got a few, yes. I wanted to bring up quickly, this is a genuine horror moment. I feel it's kind of a funny in hindsight. The beach ball goal.
Oh, God, yeah.
Darren Bent's goal against Pepe Reina, which hit a beach ball thrown by a Liverpool fan.
Yeah, that was... I don't think that is funny in hindsight. I'm still angry about that.
Well, how the ref let it go, I don't know.
Yeah, well, also, I kind of... I'm furious about it, but also I feel really, like, sad for the kid who kind of, who threw it. Like, why are you throwing beach balls onto the pitch? What are you doing? Like, what? Like, I don't understand. But also, like, he must have got home and, the amount of lies his mum and dad must have told him to convince him that it wasn't his fault. Do you know what I mean?
Even though it definitely was.
Don't worry, son. It would have gone in anyway. It was definitely going in anyway. No, it's okay. It's okay, Billy. If you hadn't thrown a beach ball, somebody else would have.
Imagine going back to the school and being beach ball Billy.
Exactly. Like that will stay with him for life. The poor kid's probably hoping someone shoots him up the arse just so they talk about something else.
I've seen this. I actually saw it. Like, I don't know how long ago it was. But someone did an interview with him. I don't know if I can find it. It was in 2009. Is that right?
The actual event. Yeah, that sounds about right.
His name was Callum Campbell.
Callum Campbell.
And he was the guy who threw the beach ball. He was 16 in 2009, so that must mean he's now 25.
He was 16?
Yeah, in 2009.
What was he doing throwing beach balls onto a pitch when he's 16? What's he doing?
I don't know.
What are you doing, man?
I don't know.
Like if you're like, a 5-year-old and you're just really excited to be, so close to a pitch and you've for some reason taken a beach ball along in the first place. But this is the thing, right? I don't understand the logic of even having the beach ball. Because either you've bought a beach ball when you get there, because it's a sort of weird thing they sell in the club shop, as we've discussed on this podcast before. Like, which is one of the more normal things. But so you've bought this beach ball, with your hard-earned cash. If you've just bought it that day, why would you then choose to get rid of it so quickly after buying it by just punting it onto the pitch? And if you haven't just bought it that day, you've taken it along with you. Now, either you've taken it along with you with the deliberate intention of at some point throwing it onto the pitch, which is weird in itself. But what's weirder is if you've taken it along with no intention of throwing it onto the pitch and just holding it for 90 minutes for no reason at all.
Okay.
Nothing about this makes sense.
Okay, well, let me just explain. I've just
Have you look at this article? It's not as well. There's some stuff in here that isn't that funny. Obviously, he got quite a lot. He got quite a lot of abuse out of it, which is understandable. However, his reaction is simply, how was I supposed to know what would happen? It was just a bit of fun.
Well, yes, but what, Matt? That is a sort of rationale that has taken us out of the European Union.
Yeah, I guess it is. Yeah,
it's that sort of. Well, I didn't know what the consequences would be, but fuck it. It's that sort of logic that means none of us are going to be able to afford to eat for the next 10 years.
I think, to be fair, he does sound. It's like he said, I've thought about it all the time. I've gone over and over it till it's doing my head in. And yeah, he doesn't. Obviously, he sounds guilty.
Well, he is guilty. He bloody I can't tell if I sympathise with him because, yeah, obviously, moment of madness, and it's going to live with you forever. But also, what the hell are you doing, lad?
Hey, to be fair, the interview he did with the Sunday Mirror, he donated some of it to the Hillsborough Disaster Fund. So
some of what? Some of the beach ball?
Some of the fee that he was paid to do the interview.
Fair enough. That's a nice gesture. That's class. But You got to question the business and economic values of a Daily Mirror as well if they're paying to talk to someone who threw a beach ball at the pitch.
Well, I've sent you the article. You can have a look for yourself at some point.
I will have a look. Thank you. So wait, it was 16 in 2009. So he's
25 now.
25 now. Wonder what he's doing these days.
Well, I guess we'll never know unless you're in listening. In which case, get in touch, and we're sorry for being. There's a lot of complicated issues going on now. Yeah, a couple more horror moments. Let's remind ourselves of what we're doing. I can't believe you haven't mentioned the white suits, the FA Cup final.
The what? Oh God, yeah, I've forgotten about that.
Those were a complete embarrassment.
Yeah, they were awful. They bloody cream Armani suits. Yeah.
We've never liked the FA Cup, have we?
No, I don't think we've ever given it the respect it deserves as a competition, and it's bitten us on the arse in response. Oh God, I just had a look at the bloody thing you sent me about Callum Campbell.
Yeah.
One fan told me to get my coffin ready, another said he'd make me into a curry.
Right.
Well, I mean, what kind of bloody insult is that?
I mean,
that's horrible.
Terrifyingly weird.
That's not like, for context, this lad is kind of, just looks like a sort of white male. You might think, if you just heard that threat out of context, it was some sort of racially motivated, kind of, xenophobic slur, but it just seems balmy, like, I'm going to make you into a curry.
I know, right? Oh, so bizarre.
The worst part is it's made me really hungry.
Oh God! Yeah, I haven't had any dinner. So
I really fancy a biryani right now.
There we go. Yeah, a couple more things I wanted to bring up. A couple more. I'm not going to bring up Gerard Slip, although let's be honest, that would be definitely in any list like this. So what I'll bring up instead is Gerard falling over in an interview after the Luton game a few years ago.
Oh yes, this was brilliant.
Yeah, he was just. I don't even know what happened because he was just stood still and suddenly he fell over. I don't know if part of the set gave way or something.
No, I think part of his legs gave way. He was leaning against like the backboard, and he had his studs on, and it was at Luton. It was at the God, I can't remember what Luton's ground's called. Subbit Lane, Gig Lane. That's Bury. Wherever Luton play was wherever they were playing, and slippy floors and all of that. You know what it's like when you're in your studs and you're not quite stable, and I think he just sort of relaxed a bit too much. His leg went from under him. But he came up and he said, "Oh, I hope that's not on the telly." Showing a remarkable ignorance of how live television works.
Yeah, no idea whatsoever. Also, we had another Gerard one was when he got tricked by the mascot at Chelsea. Have you seen that?
Oh, was this one like you went to shake hands and did the thing where he pulls up and wiggles his nose?
Yeah.
Yeah, I forgot that even happened.
It's so adorable. But yeah. Slightly, I thought I'd bring up Gerard's because he's obviously been through a lot as a Liverpool player, but I thought some of the finer, sillier moments of his would be
worth mentioning.
And also, the other thing I wanted to talk about quickly was, did you ever watch the Being Liverpool documentary?
Oh God, I saw one episode of it.
The most cringeworthy, embarrassing thing that we've ever done.
Yeah, Well, I don't know if it beats the white suits, to be honest.
It wasn't. It was.
I mean, the intention was there, but the results were awful. Whereas I think with the white suits, they were never going to look anything but dreadful.
Charting the signing of our new superstar Fabio Borini as he settles into Liverpool, and of course the famous "3 of you are going to let me down in these envelopes" speech that Brendan Rodgers did that haunts him to this day.
Yeah, that was. I still don't even understand that. Do you know what I mean?
No, it's a very David Brent thing to do.
It is. It was just The Office, but for Liverpool, wasn't it? Yeah. I'm trying to.
You can't remember it, can you?
No, I can. I'm just trying to think of some other horror moments that aren't really depressing.
I could mention Benitez and his facts, if you wanted.
Oh God, Benitez's beard. That's another one.
Yeah. No, do you remember the interview where he started talking about how everything was a fact?
Yeah, I do, about Man United,
That
wasn't
was
it?
awful.
That was.
It was the day he lost it.
Yeah.
It was the day he lost it. There was, I mean, anything from the 6 months of Roy Hodgson,
Yep.
you could probably count.
Have you ever seen the footage? Have you ever seen the footage of Bruce Grobbelaar having a fight with Steve McManaman?
Steve McManaman or Steve McMahon?
Steve McManaman. No.
Oh wow, no, I haven't.
I'm gonna have a look because I have seen this.
I think it's McManaman he has a fight with. Yeah. They have a bit of a bust up on the pit. Like Bruce Grobbelaar is getting absolutely apoplectic with Steve McManaman. They end up having a shove off.
I'll have to have a look for that.
Yeah, I mean it's not the worst thing in the world, but yeah, Grobbelaar grabs his face and then McManaman punches him in the face.
Oh, bloody hell, that's escalated.
Yeah, it really was. It was well nowadays like they'd both be sent off, but
Yeah, different times, I suppose.
Let's have a look. Oh, here we go. He's going proper mental, isn't he?
it's quite bad.
I would not want to get on the wrong side of Bruce Grobbelaar, I tell you.
So yeah, I thought I wanted to mention that. That's my last one, isn't it?
That's a bad punch from McManaman.
Isn't it though?
It's open hand.
It's bad.
I mean, probably just as well, but yeah. Well, I'm not sure what to say. I feel I only have one more, and that was.
Look at Loris Karius.
No, well, and that. It was when John Honorisa broke Alan Smith's leg.
Oh bloody hell!
I know. This is. I think I got the wrong end of the stick with this.
I told you it was meant to be fun.
Well, again, I thought we'd kind of talk about them in a witty and urbane way and say something funny about John Honorisa breaking Alan Smith's leg.
Why would we want to do that?
To make it seem
It
less.
basically ended his career.
That's not true. He went on and had a rich and vibrant career
Did he?
at Notts County and MK Dons and possibly Newcastle.
Oh man, that's funny.
He played for years after that. That was like 2006.
Yeah, but not at the same level. He was a man.
Oh no, but that's because he was getting on.
Yeah.
Yeah, he went on and played for another 10 years. He only retired this year.
Did he?
Yeah,
He was at Dons, wasn't he?
he was at Dons, and then he went to Notts County, and he was released at the end of last season.
Oh, but under Nolan, whatever his name is.
Yeah, and then Nolan was sacked, and he was kind of caretaker manager for a bit. And
wow, what a fun way to end this fun feature about fun, silly, horrible moments that Liverpool players have had to suffer through. That Owen completely and utterly enjoyed.
I'll tell you what, that was a good feature. I did enjoy that. That's given me a right laugh.
All for the wrong reasons.
Yeah. I wonder where John Oxenbourne is now.
Well,
I wonder if
maybe we should get in touch.
we should get in touch with him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Find out.
Oh my God! Did we even talk about John Oxenbourne's Heel of God? Have we ever mentioned that?
Oh yeah, we have. Yeah. We talked about it on the podcast like 18 months ago, something like that.
Yeah, I think we did. I think it was when we were looking for a great player whose surname began with O, wasn't it?
Something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. It's,
I'm gonna see if I can find John Oxenbourne on Facebook.
I have just looked up Callum Campbell on Twitter, but
Can you not find him?
the only one I can find lives in Alberta. I don't think it's him.
Probably not.
It does have a Snapchat called Callum Campbell LFC, but that could mean anything in Alberta, couldn't it?
That's very true. Yeah. We'll have to do some research. Get back to us on that.
Yes, we'll do a Where Is He Now feature. That's something we should bring back. We haven't done for ages. Where are they now?
Yeah. No, we haven't done that for a while actually. Yeah. We'll
Yeah.
consider that the next time round.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was Ellis's horror spooky moments that turned into something a bit more dark and serious. So let's do a feature that surely Owen can't get that wrong this time. This is
Oh, you'd be surprised.
right. Well, let's find out. This is a feature that is part entertaining podcast material, part brainstorming session for us, that we call Name First, Feature Second.
Yes, basically, as the name suggests, we give each other a name, and for a feature, not just for each other. and the other has to come up with what that feature is. It's very simple.
Very simple indeed.
But Matt, as it is not far off the witching hour, this is not. This is it not, a Halloween special?
It is indeed. So we're going to try and develop some spooky Halloween-y themed features that we can use throughout the next couple of years, or just generally turn into something we want to do on a January when we haven't got anything else to do. So that's
It will be a Halloween theme.
Yes, absolutely. Why not? Who wants to go first?
Go on, I'll go first, and I'll throw in one which you sort of had a bit of time to prepare for, because it was the idea that launched this feature. It is Trick or Trent.
It's funny because I thought you might do that, and yet I never got around to planning anything for it. So yeah.
Awkward.
So this is now going to be an interesting challenge. So we did Trick or Tweet last year, where we took Twitter, some famous footballers' fails on Twitter. And I challenged Owen to work out whether they were real or fake, and I made up some of my own. This time, with Trick or Trent, we're going to do a similar thing with pictures of Trent Alexander-Arnold and other Liverpool players. So I will show Owen a picture of a Liverpool player, and all he has to do is tell me if it's Trent Alexander-Arnold or another Trent, like Trent
D'Arby.
Trent Reznor.
From 9 Inch Nails.
Yes, and
I know who that is.
Yes, and
I'm proud of myself.
Trent
Bridge, the cricket ground.
Yep.
Whether or not it's Trent or
Trick, and it's someone who isn't Trent, or a cricket ground that isn't Trent Bridge, or a house that's not to rent. I mean, we're clutching at straws here.
If it's a trick, it presumably doesn't have to be a Trent at all, and we can use actual people, not Nottinghamshire cricket grounds.
Yeah, but where's the fun in the challenge in that? If I showed you a picture of the Oval, and you weren't sure, you might be a Trent, it might not.
Well, so that would count as a Trent if it was.
Yeah, if it was Trent Bridge.
Trent Bridge.
Yeah.
Oh, I see.
Or if I showed you a property in Zone 4 of London, it might be either for sale or to rent. So,
I think in my price range it's unlikely to be either.
Well, right. Well, anyway.
But we'll save that for when we play a Trent or to squat.
What? Let's move on.
Okay. Why not?
Right, so that's Trick or Trent. Owen, why don't you tell us about the feature Transfieldvania?
Transfieldvania is a potential minefield, to be honest. Transfieldvania is when we go full on Derek Cora. Because as you know, Derek Cora used to be on the books of Liverpool FC. He was a Liverpool player in his youth, but never quite made it at the first team. And so, in homage to probably the greatest Liverpool player that never was, we go around Anfield with one of those weird detectory things, and we examine the legends of Anfield. And I don't mean Steve Highway and Kenny Dalglish and Ian St John. I mean, all the grisly, gruesome details about the goings-on that happened at Anfield Stadium down the years. So, the murders, the fatal accidents.
Like when someone was shot in the bum, you mean?
Yeah, exactly. And had his car set on fire. The dark folklore that surrounds this particular corner of this great northwestern city, including, it is rumoured, Count Dracula, the actual Count Dracula, not the Bram Stoker creation, in his only visit to Liverpool, once gave a dark mass on the site of what is now the club shop. Is there any truth in this rumour?
Wow.
And if there is, what effect could it have on merchandise sales? We investigate as we go into Transfieldvania.
Well pronounced.
Thank you.
Fantastic. I'm interested to do that.
Okay. Well, Matt, can you maybe elaborate to our listeners on the exact content of this other spooky feature, Full Moon Centre Half?
Full Moon Centre Half. Well, of course, Liverpool have had many a centre-half throughout the years, both of extraordinarily brilliant quality, and less so. I think it's fair to agree that we've had some terrible centre-halves in our time. Of course, now the full moon is famously in works of fiction, particularly horror fiction, meant to be when werewolves come out.
Yes.
So we're going to discuss the werewolves, of course, being sort of dogs and animals. Do you keep wolves as pets? You don't really anymore, but like huskies, they do. And I guess some wolves can be relatively homonised. Basically, the whole idea of the feature would be we talk about the dogs of our centre halves. So yeah, we talk about obviously most footballers tend to have pets. They spend a lot of time at home not doing a whole lot. Their girlfriends are out shopping, I guess, I don't know, or boyfriends, whatever floats your boat. And so usually there's a lot of pets. You see a lot of dogstagrams, I guess, of footballers who enjoy, dogstagrams or dog Twitter. The less said about Carl Walker's dog on Twitter, the better. But
God, I remember that. That was a horror moment.
Talk about horror moments. Scott.
Bloody hell. Where did that come from?
I still don't know why that happened. And what brought them to do it. But anyway, we'll talk about the dogs of the centre halves. So when they come out at night, the full moon, the werewolves, and will come out at night, and that's when we'll discuss the centre halves. Virgil van Dijk's poodle and Sammy Hippier's black lab, and Karl-Heinz Riedler's German shepherd. Karl-Heinz Riedler, who's centre back? No, who am I thinking of? Vegard Hegems. Vegard Hegems, German shepherd.
Yeah. You're allowed to have a German shepherd if you're Norwegian. That works.
Yeah, of course.
That is something you're allowed to do.
Yes. So yeah, dogstagram and the famous dogs of Liverpool centre halves.
Kyrgiakos' Chihuahua, I think, will crop up heavily as well.
Absolutely. Yes, so that's whatever that was called. I can't remember.
Full moon centre half.
Yes, Owen. This one should be slightly more straightforward. Talk to us about Garcia's ghoulish ghost goals.
Garcia's ghoulish ghost goals, because this is the thing. Everyone, you say that, and everyone thinks of that famous ghost goal, the goal that never was, but actually was, against Chelsea in the semi-final in 2005. But that wasn't a ghost goal, Matt. People think of that as Garcia's ghost goal, but that went in. That counts. That was given. That took us to Istanbul. Garcia's ghoulish ghost goals are all the goals that didn't actually go in or didn't happen. We look at all the games in which Garcia scored a ghoulish ghost goal, but nobody actually noticed it happening, and so it wasn't actually added to the scores. And we look at how the future, the history of Liverpool may have been different if that ghoulish ghost goal of Garcia had actually been chalked up properly. For example, the 2018 Champions League final, Garcia's ghoulish ghost goal in that. Nobody noticed at the time. It was so ghoulish, it was so ghostly, it was not visible to the naked eye. But really, that had gone in, and it was actually 1-0 Liverpool, and the whole future of the club would have been very different. Well, way back in, any other game, really. Basically, we look at any game from the history of Liverpool Football Club and think about what might have happened if we'd scored one more goal than we did. And in some of them, it makes admittedly very little difference. In others, it could have changed the entire history of our club.
Well, always scored by Luis Garcia, of course.
Always scored by Luis Garcia, and we also consider how that's possible. Is Luis Garcia a time traveller? Yes, he is.
Yes, he is.
And that is really the crux of the matter. Is we basically talk about Luis Garcia's adventures through history. Luis Garcia at the height of the Renaissance. Louis Garcia maybe flying a Spitfire in the Battle of Britain. Louis Garcia, in the sort of the early days of punk. Louis Garcia in the Napoleonic Wars. Louis Garcia discovers fire. All of these moments Louis Garcia was present for and doesn't get the credit for, and we we really just look at Louis Garcia in different time periods and imagine how mental that would be. Imagine Louis Garcia in the court of James I.
That would be amazing.
Just imagine it.
That's what we'll do.
Yeah, that's what we do in Garcia's Ghoulish Ghost Gold. Somehow that ends with us imagining Louis Garcia in various Stuart situations.
I love that. I don't know why, but I love that.
Escalated. Okay. Well, I'm going to come clean, Matt. I expected you to cheat when I said Trick or Treat. I imagined you would have, done your research and already have one ready for that. So I threw this one as a bit of a trick for you, but as it turns out, you hadn't prepared anything for Trick or Treat. But as I've already written it, will you explain the feature Trent or Treat?
Trent or Treat? Well, this is a nice one, actually. This is a nice feature, because this is one of the things about Trent Alexander-Arnold is he is a local lad of Liverpool. He, grew up round the corner from the stadium. He's, a proper local lad. He still lives at home with his family, and he's, the humble chap, and generally a very well-liked guy. One of the things he does is he does a lot of stuff for charity. So he'll go, with some of the squad, and they'll go to, whether it be sort of children's hospitals, or whether it go to local schools, or, just disadvantaged areas. And they'll go and visit and take selfies with the kids and play, have a kick around with them and bring them gifts and things. And it's a treat. So this is a Trent or Treat. There's a slight spin on it, and we sort of look at and discuss all the great charitable work, not just that Trent does, but generally all that Liverpool do. We celebrate it, we enthuse about it. It's not necessarily very Halloweeny, unless of course it's done at Halloween, which is, perfectly reasonable, handing all the sweets out to kids and getting all dressed up in costumes and, hanging all the sort of cobwebs and skeletons off the walls and stuff. And, generally just enjoying, celebrating and talking about some of the great charity work that Liverpool do.
That's a nice feature. That's a nice positive feature.
There you go. We don't often do that. We like to, one of us likes to laugh about people's legs getting broken, but,
Yeah, I mean, only in a certain context.
Right. Okay, not when it's a small child in a hospital, right?
No, obviously. That's awful.
When it's Gibber or Cisse or Alan Smith.
Yeah, that's funnier. Yeah, it's just naturally funnier.
Right. And what about getting shot in the bum and then having a car set on fire?
That is... within the space of a few weeks.
Unbelievable. Well, let's do our last one. I think it would be fair to say let's do our last one. So, Owen, I want you to explain to me this feature. Prepare to be scared with Connor Cody.
Prepare to be scared with Connor Cody. Connor Cody, of course, former Liverpool centre-back, only played about 3 times for the club, but is now carving out a fantastic niche as Wolves captain, and such has been his majestic form, ironically at centre-half this season, roughly, that he is constantly mentioned for an England call-up, which I dearly hope happens. It hasn't happened yet, and indeed, if it doesn't happen soon, it probably never will. But yeah. Anyway, that's Connor Cody. What was it called again?
Prepare to be scared. Connor Cody.
So basically, we get Connor Cody on the show, and it's sort of a worst case scenario kind of thing, in which we will give each other random situations. You're just taking the dog for a walk, or you've decided to go shopping because you've run out of chutney, or you're just trying to put up a bookshelf, or maybe a DVD shelf, or a sort of general all-purpose shelf. And we get Connor Cody on to talk us through all the things that could go wrong, and he prepares us to be scared. And it's sort of a motivational tool, because you kind of confront your fears head on, but you also have to come up with the most ridiculous way in that this could go wrong. So you're making preparations for an absolute howler to take place while you are trying to carry out this work. It doesn't have to be work. It doesn't have to be like labour. It could be any number of things. You could just be going swimming. But what is there to be scared of when you're swimming? You might think nothing. Swimming is a safe environment, which has historically been a sanctuary to many. But what if there's sharks in the swimming pool? or someone is, having an argument which ends with them throwing electrical items at each other, and one of them misses and goes in a swimming pool, and the whole lot could go up. And it's these sort of factors you need to consider, and that's why we get Conor Cody in, to prepare us to be scared, and you will never leave the house again.
It's a bit like those protect and survive things they used to do.
Exactly. Yeah. It's, that kind of weird, because people don't know this, but Conor Cody's actually got a really plummy voice. He's really RP. He could be on Radio 4, and so yeah, he's got a perfect voice for kind of nuclear warnings, When I think of Conor Cody, I think of being told not to use all my clean water too quickly.
I mean, that is the most obvious thing you think at that point.
It is.
Well, fascinating. I look forward to doing that.
Yeah, I think that'd be great. I think he'd be well up for it, Conor.
Absolutely.
So are you ready for your last one then, Matt? Are you ready for your final?
Sure, why not?
Ings That Go Bump in the Night.
Ings That Go Bump in the Night is classic. A great tale of the terrible, terrible Halloween songs as loved by the great Liverpool players past and present. Based on the fact that Danny Ings' favourite Halloween song is Things That Go Bump in the Night by All Stars, we take a look back at some of the other great songs loved by Liverpool players that are just terrible Halloween and spooky songs. Not your thrillers, not your other Halloween songs that are good. Isn't it bad that I can't think of any other Halloween songs that are good?
Monster Mash.
Monster Mash, there you go. Anything heavy metal. Anything scary and fun. But no, all the terrible songs. Things like Halloween by Aqua, which is the favourite song of Roberto Firmino. Or some song by the Cheeky Girls that was a horror song. That is the favourite song of course, Simon Mignolet, who loves a bit of the Cheeky Girls. He can't get enough of whatever their names are. And then there's just some other terrible pop songs as well that just get called scary. Do you remember Last Ketchup?
Oh, I do. I can't remember how it goes, but...
Said a hey, huh?
Oi.
That was the favourite song of Yara Lippman, interestingly.
It was, wasn't it? Yeah.
And also, what was the one that got really famous? The Numa Numa guy. You know the Numa Numa guy?
Remind me.
He's like, Numa Numa Numa, yeah. Do 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 do. Da 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 do 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 day. Da 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 Numa Numa, yeah. Do you remember that?
I can't say I do, I'm afraid.
Okay, it's a terrible pop song. The Numa Numa guy, best friend.
It sounds it.
The Numa Numa guy was best friends with Ryan Babel. So there we go. And so that was his
I did not know that.
his favourite Halloween / terrible pop song, as loved by him. Yeah, in fact, we'll do a little bit of a clock rock to the cop with that, and do our terrible Halloween tracks and as they loved by Liverpool players. Hence, Ings That Go Bump in the Night.
Things That Go Bump in the Night. There we go. That's one to look forward to.
I'm very excited.
I'm very excited. And I think the listeners will be very excited, because we've got a good slate of features coming up there.
Thank you very much, everyone, for listening. That is the end of the Plastic Scousers podcast. As usual, the insight and irreverence you've come to expect. If there's anything that you'd like to comment on, any suggestions you have for features, or indeed just random chat you want to send to us, you can on our Twitter handles. I am at MTHSimpson.
I am at OGB Collins.
Or indeed, make sure you get subscribed on iTunes. That's where we get most of our traffic from, or any of your other podcast receiving devices. Castbox, that's one. Podbay, it's another. Yeah, there's some others for you if you need them.
Podiatrist,
yep. Podemonium. Peapod. Professor P. Don't know where I'm going with this.
Protestant atrocities in Northern Ireland.
Okay, let's move on. Thank you very much, everyone, for listening. Yeah, we'll do that.
Find us on YouTube. Find us on any platform you can. I don't know if we're on Spotify. We're on Spotify now as well, actually.
You were on a platform earlier tonight, Matt.
Huh?
You were on a platform for a while earlier tonight.
What?
You said find us on any platform, and I made, admittedly, quite a weak joke about your train being delayed, and it's bombed.
It's a lead balloon. Yeah.
Okay.
Let's wrap.
Shit, Sam.
This is the worst ending we've ever done.
I'm quite enjoying it.
Right. Either way, is there anything else you'd like to add, Owen, before we finish?
No, I don't think so. I think that covers it.
Great. Well, let's just sod off then.
Oh, I am a Liverpudlian, and I come from the Spion Cup. I love to sing, I love to shout, I get thrown out quite a lot. We support the team that's dressed in red. It's a team that you all know. It's a team that we call Liverpool, and to glory we will go. We've won the league.